228. Sripad manjari pada sei mor sampada Sripad manjari pada sei mor sampada sei mor We can do Radhikashtakam number 3, page 87.
87?
87 page.
87.
Kumkumakta kanchanabja Garvahari Gaurabha Pitanam Chitabja Kanda Iti Linti Saurabha Paladesha Shunu Sarva Panchitanta Satika Mayamatma Pada Padma Asadasturādhika Gauravinda Kampini Chittavata Shatika Krishna Mata Vrindakheli Pula Pushpavatika Krishna Nitya Sangha Marta Padma Bandhuradhika Maya Matma Pada Padma Asadasturādhika Sumaya Sishta Bala Kali Kirti Nigraha Chandra Chandalor Palendu Jaya Sita Vigraha Pavimarsha Bala Visha Pamatapa Vadika Maya Matma Pada Padma Asadasturādhika Vishwavandayo Vantapi Advantapi Yarama Rupanava Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjanan Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Narayanam Gurum Vande Sharanyam Bhakta Bandhavam Gauramanoishtam Purnam Radhadasyam Pradayakam Rupanugacharya Varyam Gurupam Jari Prishtakam Patita Pavana Karunyam Yugacharya Narayanam Panchakalpatarvyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gogra Tuise Namaha Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara Ismirahasara Murali Manohara Radhikara Shikamam Kripanide Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Guru Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Vrindayi Tulasi Deviyai Priyai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sattvatyai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I begin offering my most humble obeisances to the dust of the lotus feet of Paramaradha Sri Vishta Om Vishnu Pada Brahmamsa Paribrajana Charya Ashtotara Sadasya Sripad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudeva, and to all Shri Rupa Guru Varga, all three Dandi sannyasis, especially to Nitrila Prabhupada Vishnu Pada Ashtotara Sadasya Sripad Shila Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Goswami Maharaj, Nitrila Prabhupada Shila Bhakti Sadhaka Muni Goswami Maharaj, all Brahmacharis, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, to all the assembled devotees here today, and most respectful exes. So yesterday we were discussing how the bliss that the gopis generate by embracing Krishna in their meditation makes millions of makes the pleasure found in millions of universes, and even the Brahmananda, the spiritual bliss, become very insignificant. Because devotees, they want Sevananda, they want Premananda, they don't want Brahmananda or Jorananda. No material bliss, no impersonal bliss, they only want the bliss of Seva. For them, the greatest pleasure is when they are serving. Not that they want something for themselves. Their happiness, their experience is just a natural consequence of giving bliss to Krishna, of giving happiness to Krishna. They are not doing that calculating that, oh, I will get some bliss if I will serve Krishna. They are not doing like that. They are not even thinking if they will get or not. And sometimes even they become, they check themselves. They feel, oh, how can I receive, such, special gift that is this Sevananda, if I do not even deserve that. Also, when the gopis, after Rasa Lila completed, then Krishna tells the gopis, Na pariham nirabhadya samyujjam. I'm sorry, I cannot repay what you did for me. I cannot equal you in what you have done for me. So the happiness you feel by serving me, let that be your compensation. Because from my side, I can't do anything. I can't equal you. I cannot repay what you did. To say that because we already read that. So we concluded yesterday by seeing that pain is the result of pap, sin. Pleasure is the result of punya, means virtuous acts. And both can be destroyed by the power of bhakti, by the power of the separation that the gopis felt for Krishna. So the first meaning of the verse is rejected. According to authorities, the destruction of karmic reactions, means prarabdha, ashubha and mangala, occurs during the stage of bhajan, when a devotee reaches the level of anartha nivritti. So the gopis are not in anartha nivritti stage. Therefore, they reject this meaning that the gopis, they were undergoing some type of progress in their spiritual life. No. The word Paramatmanam here means he who possesses the highest parama or the highest prema. The gopis directly achieved samyak gatta, the supreme goal of prema, by thinking of Krishna as their illicit lover or jara buddha. Illicit lover means the paramour relationship. They are not supposed to meet with Krishna. This is against the rules of society. But nevertheless they did. Why? Now, because they were aiming the supreme goal. What is that goal? Prema. And what is the nature of prema? The nature of prema is only to give transcendental bliss to your object of service, not to yourself. If you want to give pleasure to yourself, this is not prema, this is calm, right? So gopis are not actually put into check because of this apparent illicit relation, because they don't want to enjoy by themselves. In this material world, if someone else's wife wants to go with another person, she is going to enjoy. But gopis are not going to enjoy. Therefore, gopis cannot be blamed by any type of illicit acts. Also here he is giving the different meaning of Paramatma. It's very interesting. He's saying that Paramatma means the one who has prema in its highest capacity. And who is Paramatma? Krishna. So the gopis realized Krishna in an even fuller sense than did Rukmini and his other queens, who thought of him most respectfully as their husband. An unpredictable excellence of prema is manifest by thinking of Krishna as a paramour instead of a husband. So the love in Parakya is superior to all other types of loves. Even the most respectful love between Krishna and the queens, his husband and wife, it's not comparable to Parakya rasa. So this is shown in the words of Uddhava. Uddhava says, though the gopis abandoned their families and the path of proper conduct, which is very difficult to do, they worshipped Krishna, who is sought by the Vedas itself. So even the Vedas, they want to become gopis, to serve Krishna. We read already that the Swarupa of the Vedas are gopis. They are the Shruticharis, right? So in this way, gopis can never be blamed by performing any type of abominous act, because Krishna is also not a mundane personality, as well as the gopis, they are also not mundane personalities. In Krishna's pastimes on earth, he often turns the most lowly things into the most elevated. So whatever for us in this world is condemnable, rejectable, Krishna can make it very special and very elevated. As Bhishma stated, Krishna's pastimes of acting as Arjuna's chariot driver was even more elevated than the pastimes in which he acted as a mighty king of kings. Then Bhishma Dev is saying, I concentrate upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with the whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, and who very carefully protected Arjuna's chariot by all means. Similarly, in Krishna's Brajalila, we see that the normally inferior Sringara Ras becomes better than the normally superior mood Shantaras. And in Sringara Ras, the socially unacceptable attitude of loving a paramour becomes superior to the loving exchange between legitimate spouses. In the same way, Krishna's decoration of lowly gunja berries necklace, red oxide paste, and peacock feathers are superior to the most valuable jeweled ornaments. So what he's saying here, he is comparing what seems to be very simple in Krishna Lila, what seems to be very trivial, and to something which is very opulent. So he gives the example of Bhishmadeva. Bhishmadeva is seeing Krishna as the charioteer of Arjuna. He's doing a very, heroic, act. He's driving Arjuna's, he's protecting Arjuna. He's fighting against the Kauravas. But that is actually inferior to the conjugal love that Krishna is performing by taking someone else's wives into the dark of the forest. In the same way, you can compare the very expensive and luxurious ornaments of Krishna, like crowns, jewels, necklaces, everything, with his gunja berry mala. Gunja berry is a seed from a tree, very simple. Mala. Also his peacock he found on the ground, peacock left, he put on his head. It is very significant. But nevertheless, this is much greater than all the best of all the jewels. The word Sangata means directly meeting Krishna, implies that some of the gopis who were restrained by their husbands or fathers eventually escaped and met Krishna on the night of the rasa dance. Or that some of them were able to meet Krishna on another night. So somehow or other they were able to meet Krishna. Not in that night, in another moment. It may be objected, however, that it is not proper for the Supreme Lord to sport with women whose bodies have already been enjoyed by other men. This objection is replied by the words beginning with Jahu, means to give up. The word Deham, means body, is used here in the singular form to indicate unit of category, even though the gopis are many. The verse speaks about one body, not many bodies. We can also imply as the body of Radhika only. In many ways you can connect this with Radharani. I told you, no? That my Gurudev told every verse of Gita, of Bhagavatam is about Radha. Every word of Bhagavatam is about Radha. Some authorities say that the power of Yoga Maya, by the power of Yoga Maya, the gopis' bodies disappeared in a way that no one noticed. Others say that the body referred to in this context is the inferior body, composed of the modes of material nature, Panchabhuta. Thus, by the prominence of the adjective Gunamayam, it is understood that before the gopis heard the sound of Krishna's flute, their bodies had been twofold, material and spiritual. And upon hearing the flute, they gave up the material bodies, which their husbands had enjoyed. So, the gopis, they were having at that time two bodies. Because at that time, they were, of course, in this material world, and they still had some type of contamination. You remember he was saying some attachment for children, some body husband touched. So, but how they can come and join Krishna Rasa Lila with that impure body? For the first reason, he already told before, by the feeling of separation, that fire, they burn the last smell of anartha they had. And now, he's saying that gross body they gave up. And they came as Atma, and as Atma they came to meet with Krishna. In this regard, the following should be considered. When devotees practice devotional service under the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, they engage their ears and other senses in acts of pure devotion by hearing and chanting about Krishna, remembering him, offering obeisances, and personally serving his deity form. Thus the devotees make the Lord's transcendental qualities the object of their senses, as is stated by the Lord himself, Nirgunu Mad Apashraya. The devotees who take shelter of Krishna transcend the material bodies. Yet, sometimes the devotees may take as their sense objects mundane sounds and tastes, and that is material. Thus, a devotee's body can have two aspects, transcendental and also material. This is the stage called Swarupa Siddhi, when you already have realized your soul is active, your Swarupa is active, but nevertheless still you have to be in this material body. According to one's level of devotional service, to that degree, the transcendental aspects of one's body become prominent and the material aspects diminish. This transformation is described in the following verse of Bhagavatam 11:2-42. Bhakti parishano bhavo viraktir anyatra chaishatrik kaeka kala prapadyamanasya yatasnatasyus tushti pushti kshud apayo nugasam. With each bite of food that a person takes, three effects occur simultaneously. First, he obtains satisfaction, nourishment, and then cessation of hunger. Similarly, surrendered souls engaged in bhajan simultaneously experience three effects: the awakening of bhakti, aiming at prema, direct manifestation of Lord's beloved form, and detachment from material objects. These are the three symptoms of bhakti. Thus, those who eat only a little food will derive a little satisfaction, a little nourishment, and a slight relief from hunger. Similarly, those who perform only a little hearing and chanting about Krishna will attain only a little of bhakti. Some realization of the Lord and also a little type of detachment. However, when one achieves unalloyed Krishna prema, the material portions of the body disappear and the body becomes completely spiritualized. So he's saying that if you practice a little bit, you only have a little bit of benefit. If you practice a lot, you have a lot of benefits. So once the devotees, they are completely established in Krishna prema, then their body becomes completely spiritualized. Nonetheless, so as not to disturb the false opinions of the atheists and to protect the confidentiality of devotional service, Shri Krishna usually has his illusory energy exhibit the demise of the gross body. An example of this is the disappearance of the Yadavas during the Maushala Lila. So sometimes Krishna, makes a lila that some parikaras, they died. Someone died due to something. Even he himself. He left this world after receiving the arrow on his ankle, on his foot sole. So he's also displayed like that. Sometimes, however, to proclaim the superiority of bhakti, there is no death, as in the case of a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj, who Krishna allowed to go to the spiritual road in his self-same body. We can cite evidence for this point from the 25th chapter of the 11th canto. The verse says, by practicing Bhakti Yoga, a devotee conquers over the gunas in the heart, and being my Nirguna Bhakta, he attains a form or mood like me. So Dhruva Maharaj directly, he went to one Vaikuntha. This is one part of Vaikuntha which is present in this material world. Vaikuntha has one type of representation in this material world. So, Uddhava is there. Sorry, not Uddhava. Dhruva Maharaj is there. Kapila Deva also speaks of the transcendental nature of bhakti. As bhakti is transcendental, the ingredients of worship, such as flowers, incense, and ghee, also become transcendental by the touch of the limbs of bhakti. Thus, the defeat and destruction of that which is composed of the modes of material nature can be brought about only by the process of devotional service. So, to make this flower, which was material, becomes spiritual, is if you use it for bhakti. Then it is now nirguna. It has been surpassed the level of the gunas. The word dutta shubha can also mean by the pain caused by intolerable separation from Krishna, the gopis cast off their gunamayam deham, inauspicious material bodies. By the ecstasy the gopis felt by embracing Krishna in meditation, their auspicious spiritual bodies, far from being destroyed, simply increased and became more prominent because of bliss. Yogamaya helped the gopis get free from the restraints of their husbands and from the bondage of ignorance, because all their karma was completely destroyed. However, we should not make the mistake of thinking that the gopis died, as the Lord himself states. So when you remember Yogamaya, she duplicated the body of gopis, right? So some gopis, they were unable to leave their houses. Even Yogamaya could not duplicate their bodies. After feeling purvaraga and burning the remaining impurities, then they automatically drop their bodies. Drop the body means from the external perspective they died. Though those who have seen them from external perspective, they thought they died. They didn't die. They just dropped their material body and they went with their spiritual body. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-37. All those auspicious gopis who were locked in their houses by their husbands and could not attend the Rasa Lila on the full moon night of autumn attained me by remembering my potent pastimes. So some could not join, as we heard. Some they joined later Rasa Lilas. But how they met with Krishna inside? Inside they met with him. By using the word kalyanaha in this verse, Krishna implies, even though these gopis wanted to give up their bodies because of their husbands' prohibitions and the torment of separation from me, for them to die at the very beginning of the most auspicious festival of the Rasa dance would have been displeasing to me and thus inauspicious. Therefore, they did not die. Rather, they became fortunate. One reason also the gopis don't die is that because that will make Krishna unhappy. And they never want to make him unhappy, so they will never die. Sometimes they stay on the edge of death. Like when Krishna left for Mathura and Dwaraka, they stayed at Uddhavakyari. They were almost dying. Why did they not fully die? Because of this reason. More evidence that the gopis who were prevented from going to see Krishna did not physically die is provided by Sri Shukadeva's later in this canto. Then the gopis replied to Uddhava, feeling satisfied because his message had reminded them of Krishna. The word ta here refers to those gopis restrained from the Rasa Lila by their husbands. Yet they remained alive and were now present speaking with Uddhav while Krishna was living in Mathura. In other words, the gopis gave up their material bodies without dying. Purged by the intense heat of separation, the gopis gave up the gunamaya nature of their bodies and attained pure spiritual bodies, just like the bodies of such great devotees as Dhruva Maharaj. This is the meaning of the gopis giving up their bodies. Verse 10 and several others in the Bhagavatam indicate that the gopis remained home without dying and only attained Krishna's association in meditation. By meditation, the gopis obtained the embrace of Achyuta Krishna. They did not obtain any exit from the house. They remained in the village. And they achieved me by meditation upon my Vedar's pastimes. This is Krishna saying. However, here, verse 11 says, the gopis got Krishna's direct association. Whereas Bhagavatam 10:47-37 says that the gopis did not attain the rasa dance. Therefore, it should be understood that among the gopis who were locked in their houses, there were two types. Two types of gopis that were locked at home. The following analogy illustrates the statuses of the various gopis. By observing 7 or 8 ripe mangoes on a tree, a wise servant can ascertain that all the fruits on the tree are ripe. Then he will pick them also and bring them home, where in due course of the sun rays and other agents will make them fine looking, fragrant and delicious, fit to be offered to the king for his enjoyment. When the time comes for the king to take his meal, a discriminating servant can choose those fruits ready to offer him. From the appearance of the fruits, the servant can tell which are ripe in the middle, but is still raw on the outside and does not yet fit for the king. After 2 or 3 days, the remaining fruits will become ripe, and then they too will be ready to offer to the king. Similarly, among the Munichari gopis who took birth in Gokula, those who had completely given up their gunamaya bodies and very early in life achieved purely spiritual bodies were able to remain untouched by any other man. So here he is comparing that. You look to the mango tree. If you look, you have 4, 5, 6 ripe mangoes. Means you can collect from the tree, even those who are looking green. No problem. You can pick them. And then you keep a bunch of mangoes separate. They're all or fully ripe or about to be ripe. Then you have to wait a little bit of time, so the others who are not totally ripe, they will also get ripe. So in the same way, among all the Munichari gopis, the gopis who were Munis before in Dandakaranya, some were already fully ripe, some were about to become ripe. So some had to wait a little bit more to be offered to Krishna instead of going directly and offer to Krishna. And who is that servant who is going to pick that mango and give to the king? That servant is Yogamaya. Yogamaya is selecting which gopi is ready, which gopi can go and cannot go. Thus, Yogamaya allowed them to join the Nitya Siddhas and other advanced gopis when they went to meet Krishna. Other Munishari gopis still retained some connection with the external material body. But even they, after experiencing the pain of separation, Purvarag gave up their conception of their material bodies and assumed perfectly transcendental bodies, purified of all taint of contact with other men. On the night of the Rasa dance, Yogamaya sent some of these gopis out behind those who had already gone out. Others, who Yogamaya saw still had a slight amount of contamination, she kept back to further purify with the heat of separation. And then she sent them out on some other night. Why is that? Because Krishna Rasa Lila is happening actually every night. We tend to say that it has the full moon day, autumn season or spring season. It's only to say like the more relevant ones. But every day it is happening. So Yogamaya not sending tonight, maybe after 3-4 nights she's going to send. In the same way that the sun rays on the mangoes make it ripe, the heat of separation from gopis will make also them ready to meet with Krishna. After enjoying the pleasures of the rasa dance and other pastimes with Krishna, the Munichari gopis who had participated went back to their homes when the night was over, as did the Nityasiddha and other advanced gopis. Now Yogamaya protected these Munichari gopis from the material association of their husbands. In other words, these gopis became detached from their husbands, sons and daughters, and their love for Krishna increased more and more. Since these gopis were thoroughly immersed in the great ocean of love for Krishna, their breasts dried up so that they could not feed their infants, their babies. Becoming disinterested in raising their children, their family members thought they were possessed by ghosts. In conclusion, it is not unseemly that the gopis who were previously in material association joined in the rasa dance. Some acharyas conclude that the gopis locked in their homes did not have children. According to them, whenever such words as apatya, means children, are used in the verses yet to come, these words refer to the children of co-wives, to adopted children, or to nephews and nieces. He's putting one more consideration. He's saying maybe these gopis, they didn't have children by themselves. Maybe because in Indian family, your brother's son is also your son. Your cousin is also your brother. They call like that. They don't have such a word for cousin. Everyone is bhai. So in the same way, they are putting these other considerations that maybe they were just taking care of someone else's actual babies, but not their own babies. Okay, now verse 12. Sri Parikshit Maharaj said, O sage, the gopis knew Krishna only as their lover, not as the supreme absolute truth. So how could these girls, their minds caught up in the waves of the modes of nature, free themselves from material attachment? This is a very nice question Parikshit Maharaj asked. Actually, this question is a very tricky question. You understood the question? The question is, you can only achieve spiritual perfection if you worship God. This is Vaishnavism. Only God can, give us perfection, purification through bhakti, devotional service. But Krishna is not God for gopis. He's not God for gopis. He's just Krishna. So how that, if they are not actually thinking about performing spiritual activity, they get the highest spiritual result? It's a very good question. Then the commentary is, Though Parikshit Maharaj understood the meaning of Shukadeva Goswami's words, he noticed the expression on the faces of some of the more materialistic persons present there and realized the doubt lurking in their hearts. So Parikshit Maharaj kindly he asked the question, not because he's doubtful, but because he sees that many people in the audience are materialistic. There are millions of people watching this Harikatha. Millions of people, all types of qualifications. So he thought maybe some people they may think something bad, so let me ask this question. So to remove their doubts, he asked this question: O sage, O knower of everything, although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, the gopis knew Krishna only as their lover. How did the gopis become free from the modes of material nature by thinking, let us enjoy with Krishna? That from any material point of view doesn't make any sense, right? So Shukadeva Goswami answered, the Shastras explain that only knowledge of the Super Soul can award liberation. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Supreme Lord, and there is no other way to achieve this perfection. So many verses from Upanishads are there. The individual soul can only realize the Supreme Soul when he recognizes his transcendental position. Even Srimad Bhagavatam, yes Maharaj, even Srimad Bhagavatam says that. So this is the end of the 12th verse. Tomorrow we will continue with the 13th. Gaur Premanande, Haribo Vanchar, Patitanam Pavaribhyo,